First of all, congrats on your first Golden Globe and the BAFTA nomination. I saw an interview where you mentioned that August Wilson told your dad's story. How so, and how personal for you was this particular role?
Well, he told the story of the average black man. He saw the value in that story. You know, Arthur Miller, said when he wrote Willie Loman that I know that these are not the finest men who ever lived, but a terrible thing has happened to them, so their stories deserve to be told. And these are not the men who are changing history, but they have the story, and their stories, through hearing those stories, those are the stories that chronicle where we were as African Americans. It's those thousands, millions of the average black person who maybe wasn't educated, maybe didn't know how to read. My father didn't know how to read till he was 15. Those are the stories that let you know where we were, how they affected our relationships. And sometimes I think we miss that with biopics. We miss those little details of relationships and the everyday. And I'm glad that he saw value in it. I'm glad August Wilson saw value in it.
How much is the role and the whole setting about racism? I mean, could you have played this role from any ethnicity, do you think? There are themes that are pertinent to all people.
There's a lot of themes that you could have played. It doesn't matter the ethnicity. Marriage, the downfall of a marriage, someone feeling stagnant and saying, I need someone younger, cuter, more vibrant. I'm going to leave my wife. I'm impregnating another woman, and I want you to raise this child. I think that very much is prevalent nowadays and not just exclusive to the African American experience. I think the dynamic between father-son is, or friend-friend with Bono and Troy, I think is very inclusive. I think that's what happens when you write the human story. Instead of approaching it in a way that's didactic, where each character is just a social message and that's it. That's all it is. That's not what August wrote.
I mean, I looked at the role and really empathised with it from start to finish. But at the point where you decided to raise your husband's love child, that's where I ended affiliation and thought I could never do that. I mean, as a woman, as a married woman, is that something that you could identify with? I mean, could you do that, raise another woman's child?
Number one, I did not see that moment as whether or not I could identify it, it having value. It doesn't matter. But number two, I saw it as admirable. I saw it as being on the page, so me having to play it. Number three, I think that is something that a lot of women do. I know them personally. They're in my life. You know, I know someone in my life who's raising her husband's child because he had an affair with a woman who can't raise a kid. She would be left alone. And so she's raising that child with love. I don't see that as a weakness. I see it as very admirable. I see Rose as making a difference in that child's life. I have a different definition of being what strong is. At 51, I do. I always thought strong was, I'm doing what I want to do, how I want to do it, and the way I want to do it. And then now I'm woken up to the fact that that's all a lie. I mean, I have friends who say that and they're with men who beat them. I have friends who say that and they're alcoholics. I have friends who say that and they're, popping antidepressants and they're binge drinking because they're completely stressed out. Or they're in therapy 3 or 4 times a week because they just can't cope. We as human beings are not without flaws. And And I love the fact that August created a character who absolutely is strong at times, but absolutely is vulnerable and absolutely is doing the best she can with what she knew.
I mean, you talk about human beings not being without flaws. That one of the most powerful scenes is when you're told about this love child and you're crying and, you know, your nose is running and, you know, everything is on display. For you, certainly in that moment, it wasn't about vanity, was it?
It can't be about vanity. You know how they describe acting? They describe acting as being naked in front of an audience and turning around very slowly. Acting is about exposing. And thank God for artists, because I probably have moved through life and maybe 90% of the people I know, especially on Facebook, they're the most fabulous mother. They are the most in control. I have one woman who I know, and I love her, by the way, and she always is posting how fabulous and in control she is. And I know for a fact she's got marriages falling apart. She has sexuality issues. She has, but that's most people that I know. They're agoraphobics. They're alcoholics. They're all of that. That the biggest issue with people is the complete lack of self-awareness that they have. And it's why most of us are medicated. Your job as an actor is not to do that, because most of the time, when you are acting, like you see in Fences, you are coming into someone's house and seeing them in private. And you're seeing them when they are taking off the mask, when they're not putting on that armor of having to show you the best parts of themselves. And what happens when you expose, as Arthur Miller said, he wrote Death of a Salesman, View from the Bridge, all of those plays, because he wants people to feel less alone. People feel less alone when they expose their vulnerability, because then the person who is observing it can go, oh, me too, thank God, because I never want to show that, because, I want people to know I'm together. That's the beauty of August Wilson also.
Let's talk about diversity. Huge row with the Oscars last year about diversity of actors in films and films nomination. Do you think that we've come over that now? Do you think that the Oscars are moving in the right direction and Hollywood's moving in the right direction?
Yeah, because I think it is moving in the right direction. It's directing. Because I think that people of color are refusing to put Hollywood in the driver's seat. They are being the instrument of change. But I always say my three biggest words were the question mark at the end, and now what? Oscars are going to be over February 26th. And now what? What kind of films are going to be produced? What are the storylines? I'm one of those people that I feel that stories are expansive. I want stories that are completely imaginative. I don't always want to be the together black woman who only puts out images and make us look great. That's horrible art. As a matter of fact, if you just do that, that's going to be bad movie making, and nobody's going to get an Oscar based on that. People get Oscars when you write stories about great ideas where human beings are messy and in conflict. And if we can write that with this color, then you could come back with me with that question, and I'll say that we're at the sweet spot. But if it's just biopics all the time, where we're just beautiful, our hair is straight, skin is beautiful, our skin looks great because it's being lit right, then that's not a story as far as I'm concerned. I'm praying that we keep churning out movies that are diverse, stories are expansive, stories are imaginative. We have people of different hues. It's not just all black. I think that we can mix it up.
Viola Davis, thank you very much. Great to speak to you.
Thank you.